think we did it on landscaping already, but we may have to look again. It's just the cost. We got to find a way to do it. And we're always kind of reduce staff. And in addition to that, I think, there's an idea about raising what we charge for members to use, which I usually resist. But it may be the smart, and the board may, at once I say, well, they can pay a little more. I think we're the cheapest in town, and we'll always be the cheapest in town. So we kind of think about that.
You guys not cheaper than the city, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is the city free?
You're talking about union dues, right?
No, I'm talking about, and we're cheaper to the city on union dues too. Just because we're 2.25 hours. I don't know a place that bases on your individual pay, and it might be, but usually it's across the board, and it's pretty high. But you can't get kind of cheaper than 2.25 hours based on what you pay. If it were up to me, which it is not, I would have looked for a freeze in any. Well, it is a virtual freeze, actually. I was going to say in any of our units that have a pay freeze, then you freeze the dues. But it's based on your pay, so it is virtually a freeze for whatever that time is. And so the state contract really has it right now, dues freeze. But I think they got a payout on some hillside or some kind of dumping out, but that's not an increase.
Well,
go ahead. I wasn't that question answered, but you got a question, so I got to answer.
Well, a suggestion, what I like to see on this next contract, and I like to be a part of the negotiation team, I like us to figure out a way and strategize on taking these contractors that are plumber, electrician, housekeeping, whatever, and start figuring out a way to bring them into the family. But in the long run, we're getting so many contractors, not only on the university, but we got thousands and thousands of housing units over here that are owned by individual people that uses these contractors. If we can find a way to start building up our strength by tapping into another resource that's growing. It's growing here in Franklin County with that housing unit and with the university. The contractors are growing. So I'm saying let's find a way to bring them into the family by getting them some benefits or some stuff and starting enticing them to come join us.
Are you talking about service contractors, or are you talking about construction and trades contractors?
Whatever is that, well, the trades and the contractors over, builds buildings and stuff has already got their own. But I'm saying, like, if you got a plumber or electrician that goes to one of these houses over here.
The smaller contracts.
Yeah, and the ones over here on campus.
Yeah. I understand what you mean. I will give you a long answer, but the short answer is the university has some requirement to contract with small vendors, and they have some requirement to do it. And then on the other hand, they like to do it, and it's so much work that and so widespread that it would be difficult to capture that. Otherwise, at some point they would have been captured if they saw it as an advantage. But the pay is such a differential. People didn't really care, and some still don't, about benefits. Right. So part of this job here, as a tradesperson, even as a service person to some degree, it's a benefit package and a retirement plan that has such a stability to it right now. It's just not a trade-off. Not to say that you don't have a worthy idea. I'm just trying to kind of paint some of the parameters of what that looks like. If you look at the Schottenstein, they are, it's not Aramark, it's whatever that company is.
M&I Home.
No, the Schottenstein, as far as the service provider, food service workers, the concession people, I mean, they're getting paid nothing.
John Jacob Dental?
Sodexo, yeah. I mean, they're getting paid nothing. They talk about the insurance is more than they make and that kind of thing. And SEIU is all over there because they're a service union, and that would be a resource for us, except for, you know, we can't impend on that kind of campaign. And I think that Dr. Gee has made it clear by saying, you know, we're not going to make that provider pay on certain wages. We're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. That he's, you know, he's anti-labor as far as people having rights. But we should be able to look out and pick something somewhere. But it's not the, you know, this is not the decade for it. I mean, or something. But I understand what you're saying. I want to investigate that. You know, you always have to do that because you only get that shot once every 3 years to really endeavor in that. I think what would be better, given the resources and the focus, is to do internal. There are there are some tens of thousands unorganized people working here. Clericals is a challenge. You got medical center is a bit of a challenge, but you have nursing aides and hospital aides and PCAs and that would be a bonus in and of itself. So we have to do that, and we have to find a way to stop this classification problem. You know, everybody's, you know, they're seeping out of the bargaining unit, and they're doing bargaining unit work. And so that has to be a real focal point for the next negotiations coming up, really. But, you know, you have to organize somehow, or you just kind of dwindle away. And so what we have to do two things, really. We have to kind of appropriate resources to do that, and also make our district more active in it. We have a district organizer. Problem is, she takes care of Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and you know, we got to get our turn in here. And when I say Ohio, I mean we ain't the only thing in Ohio, right? You got AT&T Wireless, you got all the AT&Ts, you got some other little things, you got the city of Whitehall. So we have to kind of make our cut to be a little more focused on, because we do have the biggest public worker local in Ohio for CWA. The next biggest is the city, and all those guys, it's a union of managers. So we have more people, they have more money. That's just the way it is, you know. And because they're not that very far behind us. We're at supposedly around 1,800. They're around 1,300, but everybody makes about $40 to $50 an hour.
What you mean, members? 1,400. The city has 1,400 members.
Yeah, they have to CWA. Yeah.
CMOS.
Yeah, it was CMOS, now it's 4502.
It was 45. It was.
We brought them in.
You brought them in. They know the loan CMOS is 4502.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, they may be CMOS slash. You know, people get a little touchy about that,
yeah.
but they you know, they're averaging about $40 an hour. They're all supervisors. They've been in the city for 27 years or something. So they're looking at a lot of money. So we can, you know, we got to kind of politic for that. I'm going to say that at the same time I'm going to say, let me finish this. I'm going to say that we need people to show up at that thing Friday while the international president is here.
Thursday.
Tomorrow. But this won't go out tomorrow. Today. But we need to get people out there Thursday with our shirt. You know what I mean? That's one of them kind of political things. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that happens. Some people surely run there. Okay, now go. You said something about 2%.
Yeah, is their union do 2%?
Theirs is just like ours. 2 hours and a quarter. 2 and a quarter hours.
You kind of lost me. It's 2 and a quarter an hour. That's what you pay. I don't know.
2 hours of a month.
2.25.
Yeah, 2.25 hours a month is your dues.
That's your dues. Okay.
Yeah. And that's what theirs is.
Based off
before it was like $1 or something like that, because they were independent. They didn't have a structure, and that's just what they did. So they just saved money. Just saved money, save money, save money. So they look pretty viable. They won't even buy a building. They just rent a space. You know what I mean? Which is, I mean, maybe it might be smart. But if you just have it and don't use it, you know, like in this campaign, we made donations to the issue 2. We've made donations to AFL-CIO to make those commercials, to do those different things. It's much more productive for us to give them some money than for us to try to run a whole campaign ourselves. Because all the, what is it, We Are Ohio, Stand Up. It's just more productive to do it that way.
Right.
So I think that's all that's on the rise. You know, I don't think anything else is going on really. Do you have any questions to answer, Sean?
I got a suggestion. On this right here,
I'm sorry, I can't see what it is.
Merc, can you
on this Merc, this is really put together really quite well, but when a union member comes to me and they want to do this, what I do is I sit down with them and get some scrap paper and go through the whole thing, and what I do is I create a cover letter and then walk them through everything. And basically the cover letter is important because when I got to the mediator, the first question, you got 15 minutes to talk. So it was easy for me to take my cover letter and just hand it to the mediator and say, here you go. Talking's done. I got everything together for you. So if you're going to put a case together for somebody, take some scrap paper, get everything written down, and then your next step is a cover letter and getting this all filled out too. This is really nice how this is all filled out.
It's new from the last one.
Oh, this is definitely.
So there's some details that are much better than the last one, and that's a good strategy because a lot of people don't like talk about themselves and that kind of stuff, and it's a pretty interesting dynamic to go. So we might have people to tell people to do a letter that outlines what your argument is, as long as it matches that.
Well, on two fronts, I ran across somebody that's their reading and writing level was low, so it helped me be there to create that bridge for them. And then the next person didn't speak English very well, but they read it really nice, so that was another bridge. So creating that, your first step is putting that cover letter together, and then going from there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, that reminds me that what we need to do is put in the newsletter somewhere the people on the MERP panel, the union people on the MERP panel, so that people may come and ask them information on how to get it done and that kind of thing. So now that I know those people, I think at some time, Jason, we didn't have the people yet. And I think that was a suggestion of another meeting, and we didn't have the people, so we couldn't tell them. But now we know who they are for the most part. So we'll put that out on the newsletter, put it on the web, and make sure people know who they are and who to ask questions of. Write that down. Anybody else?
I think one of the things that you're going to have
else.
No.
If there is nobody else, then go right ahead. But give them a shot.
Some days there's two of me, but anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we have to encourage the union members that even in spite of the fact that you got a base pay of 1%. Even if you got that base pay, there's a two-part, and they have to be aware of the other part. If your evaluation looks funky, then they should do whatever they can to bring it up. I think a lot of people are not going to be aware of that other. There's another percentage that they could get.
Right.
I don't know if I articulated that right.
I understand what you mean. The letter doesn't really say anything about MERP, is what you're saying.
It talks about the base pay, but it also talks about the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
we have to make the union members aware of that. There's also a second part. You got the base pay, but you also, if you got, you know, letters and stuff from the customer, and you got you know, a low performance, there's a chance for you to get more.
Yeah, and I think that what has to be articulated is that it's for the year preceding, you know, and the rating period. If you put in documentation, it has to be specific to the year preceding this. Somebody told me what's the cutoff date, Keith? Should be before.
I want to say since December, like 18% of the paper, but it's 21 days really.
The cutoff date for if you're going to give documentation, what it should refer to.
Oh, it's from 6/30/10 to 7/1/11.
So anything after 7/1/11 is irrelevant for this year. So if you get things from customers, even co-workers or whatever, they should refer to that period preceding 7/1/11, because otherwise it'll be irrelevant.
Right.
And I think you really have to do that, because you know, then it'd be just working in vain if you do it any other way.
Yeah, my concept was that a beginning and end on your performance evaluation, the begin date and the end date, but you know, I see your point of view. But you know, I always stayed in the framework of the.
I think you can do that too, Lee. I think you're right. But I'm telling you, it better be preceding 7/1/11, or they'll tell you, you know, that's good for next year or some crap like that. As a matter of fact, if it's before that period, then they tell you that was for last year to some degree. So you got to be in that framework is where they refer to. And I'm telling people that even if they're just getting them now, they have to make sure whoever they get them from, that it refers to in that period. Because anything dated later than that is out of there. We experienced that last year, and you know, it's a good lesson to learn. Didn't know they'd be looking that close, but they're looking closer and closer at it every year because they're looking at ways to save money. Yeah, looking at ways to save money, and you know, it's not supposed to be based on money. A true merit is supposed to be based on your work, and they're getting closer, I guess. But the fact that we have merit review panel, the fact that there are adjustments means they still haven't gotten it right. So, I mean, without we'd be in, I think, worse shape than we are now. You know, the panel really was just kind of a safety net guide thing to try to help people get the most out of the system. I still don't like the system the way they do it. There still aren't enough safeguards for favoritism and all that kind of stuff. But it gets closer and closer. And every year that we've done this merit thing, there's some things that haven't really been addressed, and other things which we really kind of zeroed in on, like being able to review your evaluation is one that we kind of zoomed in on. So now, for me, and hopefully for everybody, our main theme for the negotiations upcoming will be compliance for managers, supervisors, and university officials. There's no compliance rules. So one of those things in the contract says you get your answer back from a grievance in 10 days. There is no punishment, there's no motivation, there's no compliance tool there. So I believe that we should put proposals in that talk about compliance. And their word is, I'm using compliance, their word is accountability. Accountability is so general that it doesn't really say what it's supposed to say. What it's supposed to say, that your accountability is caused by you being forced to comply to the rule. So I think all the way up and down, not just grievance, not just this one, that we have to kind of have a thing that says compliance. And so that's compliance to the classification system, compliance to the rules of engagement, compliance to whatever they make those big promises about, you know, we respect and value integrity, blah, blah, blah. Then put compliance in it. It can't be voluntary for them, because it's not voluntary for us.
Right.
You know, when you bust out one of those attendance policies, they make you comply.
Right.
You know, so I think that should be our like the major theme for going forward. Compliance and results. Results. Don't show me that you're making them comply.
Well, you know, one of the arguments has always been that, I never seen it in writing, but you know, if you didn't meet a deadline or anything, the argument was always back, well, then the person, you know, won the case.
Right. Huh? Not to my knowledge, you may be familiar with something. It's Wednesday, right? But,
Is there
I think that's about it, really. Saturday plus more, you know.
What about Saturday?
I think we're recapping Saturday's meeting. I think we talked about that plus a little more.
Is there going to be a sign-up list for that negotiation thing, or are you just going to pick them at random?
I'm not going to pick them random, but there could be a sign-up list. Just give me your names, you know, whoever wants to participate.
I'll volunteer.
But it's not random. You know, there are some.
Talking about the election earlier, you said for election officers.
Yeah, I talked about that. What'd you say?
You was talking about stewards, or you talking about?
No, we don't elect
officers?
stewards.
You talking about CWA?
The president appoints stewards.
Oh, okay. The president appoints stewards. Okay. I got you.
When will the next steward acceptance, or, people was asking me, hey, I want to be a steward, or how do I go about, when you gonna open that up?
That's always open.
Okay.
That's always open. What we haven't done, we need to nail down training section.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we accept stewards at almost any time. There's no time period for it, but the training is what has to be scheduled.
So who's covering the campus shop, my little shop I'm out of, you know, little base and everything?
Well, right now,
Logan was.
anybody. I mean, anybody that can get there and be there. There's Mogan, sometimes there's Jason, there's Patrice.
He's Jason.
Yeah, that's
he's over
Jason.
Yeah.
over West Campus.
Used to be, yeah, I'm over Maine now, or,
I think somebody mentioned your name, I didn't get a chance to meet you.
Clint, nice to meet you, Jason Lee.
There's Patrice, Tony Tutt, Mogan, Terrell, you know.
Michael Mogan.
Yeah, and I can't think of other people.
Mike's really
Nick
not
Harris.
down there anymore, is he?
No, not like
You're the closest though, but you're actually on site over there.
Yeah, what building are you out of?
You know, back there where the press shop is. I'm actually over there with Larry Reed.
Oh, okay,
Right.
yeah.
across the railroad track.
Across the railroad track.
Yeah, I know.
But we got a second shift guy that'll probably motivate a little bit. He works, I think, 3 to 11. Kevin Lawson.
Who is he? He's a steward.
He's in transportation and parking. He's in the maintenance division. But he works 4. You guys get off at like 1.
We get off at 3:30.
3:30.
3:30.
Okay.
Through like us, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably the closest over there, me or Nick.
Yeah.
Is it
But
Jason?
Yep.
But if you find somebody in your shop that's thinking about it, I mean, you know those remote, there's a little shop. Where's that little shop? It's like one little building behind
Behind the bus garage, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, that's his building. But
Well,
there's another one.
Yeah, no, that's when you come in, the bus.
You're past the tracks,
I'm
right?
past the
Yeah,
tracks.
he's past on the other
Past
side.
to the, you know, make a right there.
Okay.
Before you get to where, you know when you come in, it's a little road there to the, you know where the primitive shop is,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Larry Reed.
I know where Larry's at, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a new building they built back
The
there.
new building.
Is it a landscape,
No, it's
no,
not-
landscape, no, I mean, the one Richard's done, they got, yeah, something horticultural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little landscape, almost hut.
Yeah.
It's like in the middle of nowhere back behind some other
There's
building.
some prunes back there. We got 3 prunes, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any more questions? I think I have another meeting.
Is Mike Mogan gonna run?
He can.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Okay, I was wondering. He lives in
And that's why